that your forefathers were taken into slavery, does that make you a permanent slave? Or does that make you to have a permanent slavery mindset? This is the Health Gospel. I am Dr. Adi Charles. Something bothers me. One of my travels, I went into this church. It was a parish, St. Paul's Parish, beautiful parish in Malta. And it's all lined with gold. The whole of the cathedral is lined with gold. And as I walked through the cathedral and walked through, I've got the video I'm going to be showing you in a minute. You look at the video and just look at the cathedral. Have a look and admire it. It's beautiful. But as I walked through this cathedral, I came to a point, and each segment of this cathedral are statues of people they call godfathers, or no, they called people they call grandmasters. So they sculpt them in gold or in expensive metals, and they sculpt them and they put them in different segments of this cathedral. This was a Catholic cathedral. And at one point I saw this grandmaster, which I'm just showing you now. And underneath him, I saw two statues of slaves. And it was actually in the documentary that these were his slaves. And I paused at that station and I'm looking, and this was an African boy because you could see his afro hair. You could see him in chains. Here is the picture of what I saw. You could see him in chains underneath the Grand Master, sort of lifting him. And the story goes that the slaves were the ones that built this cathedral. Some of them, when they go up the height of the building and they sleep, they will fall off, and if they fall off and that is it, they die. Some of them were thrown into the water, when they were going and lifting these heavy things and doing all these heavy jobs. The statues of the Grand Masters displayed in a religious cathedral and being honored, being respected, slave masters with an African child underneath him in chains. My heart broke in pieces. That was when I said, I'm not going further with this. I'm just turning back. And I began to ask myself questions that our forefathers were taken into slavery doesn't mean we should continue to be slaves to religion. The same slave masters that came to Africa and took Africans as slaves are the same masters they call grand masters, and their statues are actually erected in a cathedral, a religious house, which is supposed to be a house of God. They are being celebrated. And you are in 2021 are still praying for the sins of your father. What sin did your father commit? Your father was taken into slavery. Your father was tortured, punished, carrying heavy load, castrated by the same religious leaders that you are still slave to today. Look at the pictures. It is high time you know your history, and you by yourself will ask yourself, should I continue to be slave to religion? Should I continue to be a slave to religion? Because being a slave to religion is different from being spiritual, knowing God for yourself. When religious leaders who do not know their history, they were taught this religion, they are still asking you to pray. Africa is under a curse. Nigeria is under a curse. No, we are not under a curse. We have decided to carry on the slavery mentality that the slave masters imposed on us. The small mentality, the inferiority complex, that I'm not better than others. No, other people are better than me. The people with the whiter skin are better than me. That is the mentality. God is somewhere, and I've got to work so hard. I've got to slave so hard before God blesses me. I've got to pay so much money. That is the slavery mentality that you are still carrying on from the days of your forefathers. You have forgotten that to be a son, to be a citizen, is a freeborn. You are free indeed. But your religious leaders, they do not know the history. I watched and I saw it firsthand. These are people who were slave masters, erected and celebrated in religious houses, in a cathedral, with my grandfather, great grandfather, forefathers underneath them in chains, and they actually celebrate it. So why would I continue that slavery in my generation? Ask yourself the next time any GO, pastor, bishop ask you to pray because we are under a curse, or you're under some family covenant, or the sins of your forefathers, tell them, my forefathers committed no sin. The only crime they committed was that the white man came to Africa and took them into slavery. And I am here. You said to them, I will break that chain of slavery. I will not continue to be slave to religion. The same religion that encouraged slavery, the same religion that is celebrating the slave masters, the same religion that came to Africa and took your resources and built cathedrals with pure gold from the Gold Coast, pure diamonds on the floor. This is the video. Watch it, listen to it, sit down, analyze it, and go back to the drawing board and ask yourself, am I still a slave to religion, or am I free indeed? This is the Health Gospel. I am Dr. Heidi Charles. Subscribe to this channel, like us, follow us for more videos like this. Thank you, and God bless.